Hello everyone, this is the Biz and you're back with another video, and if you're like me, and like most people I think in the Pokemon Unite community, you are fairly good with certain types of Pokemon, and sometimes you might struggle with other types of Pokemon. For me, there are a few Pokemon I've always struggled with. I made a video a long time ago about Mew, where I was pretty bad with Mew and decided to take it upon myself that season to improve as much as I could, and made a video about how I slightly improved with Mew. But there is definitely another Pokemon that I've struggled with a lot lately, and maybe not lately, but I struggled with this Pokemon ever since it released, and that Pokemon is Clefable. Clefable is a Pokemon that's incredibly good. I mean, all supporters in Pokemon Unite right now are very good, I'd say, and they're in a solid position, but Clefable is a Pokemon that for some reason I would consistently lose with. And not just lose like a 48% win rate type of losing, I mean a 22% win rate. This is no exaggeration, I literally had a 22% win rate. It was embarrassing to say the least. When I scrolled down and I would look at my Clefable win rate, I would actually cringe and wonder how I was playing this badly. So I took it upon myself in Season 14 to try and improve as much as I could, and I played a lot of games, worked around it, and tried to find the core reason as to why I was struggling. So in this video, I'm hoping to kind of give a bit of that knowledge, hopefully improve your gameplay with Clefable, maybe give you some tips that might help you improve when you're playing as Clefable, because I improved from 22% win rate to actually rising up to a 50% win rate in Season 14, which I was honestly kind of surprised about. So let's start with some basics. Clefable, even though it looks like Wigglytuff, it is not a defender. Clefable is absolutely not a defender, and this is something you definitely have to get through and understand. You are not tanky. You are actually surprisingly squishy with Clefable, and I think this is the main thing that always threw me off. I would play like I'm a Wigglytuff, running into fights, taking damage for the team, but you can't take too much damage because if you do, you're just going to actually end up getting bursted and KO'd. Additionally, you're not a Blissey. Blissey is able to actually provide bursts of healing with its soft-boiled, which I do like the egg build for Blissey, so I was playing Clefable like I was a mix of Wigglytuff and Blissey, but in reality, you are neither of these Pokemon. If you are playing as Blissey, you can sometimes go into team fights, sometimes go head first. If you do take a lot of damage, you can use your soft-boiled, recover a lot of HP back, especially if you're stacking, which I do end up stacking with Blissey. But even if you're stacking with Clefable, you can't heal a burst amount of HP, and you will likely just get yourself KO'd, and the rest of your team will also probably get KO'd in the process. So instead, when you approach team fights, you have to be smart, you have to play around your teammates. And if you play as other supporters, like Comfey, if you play as Blissey, your main role as Comfey, Blissey, you're trying to keep one Pokemon alive. But Clefable is in a very unique position where you're trying to keep your entire team alive. You're trying to work around your entire team and keep your team alive throughout big team fights. This means being around your teammates and being around as many teammates as long as possible in these team fights is absolutely crucial. But before we get to that, how do you play the early game of Clefable? So when you're a Clefairy, you're pretty weak. Let's be honest, you're not the strongest. But that's fine, you still have an incredible secure move, that move being Disarming Voice. Disarming Voice is one of the better secure moves in the early game of Pokemon Unite. It's actually surprising how much you can actually secure with this move, so definitely use this to your advantage. When farm is a bit low, try and get this secure. If the opponents are somewhat low on HP, you can actually sometimes KO them. It's kind of surprising, especially if you're stacking with Clefable and you get an early stack or a second stack in. Your Disarming Voice actually does a good burst of damage, so use this to your full potential. Try and get to your Clefable as soon as possible. If you are stacking, try and not int too much, get your first stack in. If you can't get your first stack in, that's totally fine. If you can stack, ideally do it as soon as possible. I also recommend running Experience Share. I think Experience Share is almost a guaranteed item to use for this Pokemon. And I use Energy Amp, I don't think it's necessary. Energy Amp is just a fun thing to use. It's not necessary by any means, but definitely do recommend using Experience Share. As for the rest of the game, like I said earlier, just try and play around your teammates as much as possible. You can try and frontline a little bit, but be careful. You can't let yourself get too low on HP because a sudden burst of damage will knock you out. This does change a little bit if you're using Follow Me. Follow Me does make you a little bit tankier, but still, just be mindful that you are not a tank. I personally like Gravity a lot. Gravity's just so good for messing up speedsters, and there's quite a few speedsters in this meta. It can also mess up Mimikyu, which is very strong right now. I'm a big fan of Gravity. I think you can mess up many different types of Pokemon with it. It's a big area of effect. It also allows all of your attacks while you're in that range of Gravity to be boosted attacks, which Your boosted attacks as Clefable do a surprising amount of damage as well, so just a few things to keep in mind when you're playing this Pokemon. Play around your gravity, play around your teammates, play around your move cooldowns for your Moonlight range, because Moonlight, it has a fairly small range, but when your Moonlight Plus is active, you will have a fairly big range, and make sure you're around your teammates as much as possible. You're trying to keep your teammates alive so that they can be the ones who are KOing the opponents. You don't need to necessarily tank for your team, you can tank a little bit here and there, but you just need to give them enough healing so that they can all do a lot of damage over time to the opposing team. Blissey and Comfey are able to keep a single Pokemon alive through even the harshest types of damage, all the burst that is available. Blissey and Comfey are amazing for that. Defenders are amazing because they can frontline for the team, take a lot of damage, keep the attackers alive and hopefully healthy enough so they can finish off the opponents. Clefable is a little bit in between. It's able to keep your whole team alive, take some damage, but also keep everyone on the team somewhat healthy through its healing. So even if they are taking damage, your team is able to actually outlive the opponents. And this is what's allowed me to do consistently over 100,000 healing in most games of Pokemon Unite. When I was struggling with Clefable, I was doing maybe 60k healing, not 40k, I'd say like 60k healing on average, but I almost always get over 100,000 healing with Clefable. It's honestly surprisingly easy to do 100,000 healing, because if you're playing around your teammates, I don't think there's almost any way you can do less than 100,000 unless you're just completely stomping. But 100,000 healing is definitely possible. You can even do 150,000. I think I've done 170,000 healing before. So just play around your teammates, be smart with your decisions, don't be too aggressive, because that's what your teammates are for. They're the ones who are the ones doing a lot of damage. As for your Unite move, I'm still trying to figure out how to use this best, so if you have any tips on how to use this, feel free to let me know. This game in the background does not do any justice to how you should use your Unite move. I have improved for sure, but there are some times where I also struggle with using the Unite move, so if you have any tips, feel free to let me know in the comments, or let other people know as well in the comments, because the Unite move can be a bit annoying to use at times. Just be smart when you're using it, don't go too far into team fights. And yeah, hopefully you all enjoyed and found this helpful, and I will be there in the next video. Cheers. That's what happens, Buzzle. You mess with the Clef, you get destroyed. That's all I can say. They did it all game. It was bound to happen. Revenge is sweet. Just gonna put a gravity there to hopefully catch someone that tries to walk there, but it looks like no one is. Are we ripping, or like what are we... Oh gosh, I might be dead. That is terrifying. I think we're ripping the objective, by the way. Intellion's going for the objective right now. Oh my gosh, that was scary. Okay, we get the objective. Do we score? We score 40, we score 90, we score 100. And we score another 100. GG's. Oh, it's not GG's. Dodrio's scoring. Wait a second. It's not over actually, because they're scoring 200 potentially. Hopefully Blastoise scores. It does. Huge. Actually huge. Trap Mewtwo in gravity. I'm running. Oh my gosh, you're so annoying. Buzzle's not happy with me. Oh, Buzzle. You get what you get. Let's see. I'm pretty sure we won. Yeah, we broke all their goals. We should have won, yeah. I think I've been improving with Clefable, because Clefable was my worst Pokemon by far, and lately I've actually been doing kind of decent with it, so that feels good. I mean, we got Mewtwo diffed, but I healed 102k, so I took 109,000 damage.